Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you never imagined they could destroy you in front of everyone you love? That was me, standing at my own wedding party, surrounded by smiling faces, music in the air, and a woman I believed was carrying my child. I thought the night was about celebration, about forever. But one truth changed everything. When I finally spoke up and revealed what I had discovered, the room froze. Laughter died. Glasses stopped clinking. And then, without warning, my pregnant wife snapped. What happened next was so shocking that guests still talk about it to this day. She lunged at me, ripped my clothes, screamed lies and truths all at once, and turned our perfect celebration into absolute chaos. In that moment, I realized betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It humiliates you, scars you, and forces you to face a reality you never saw coming. Before you continue, please subscribe, like and watch till the ending to share this interesting story. My name is Stephen Jack, and I'm a 34-year-old mechanical engineer living in Portland, Oregon. For 8 years, I believed I had everything figured out: a beautiful wife named Martha, a comfortable suburban home, and a career at an aerospace manufacturing plant that kept us financially stable. I worked double shifts sometimes, my hands calloused from machinery, my body exhausted but my heart full. I was building a future, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. But 6 months ago, on a Thursday evening in late June, my entire world tilted on its axis in ways I couldn't have predicted. I just dragged myself through the front door after a brutal 12-hour shift when I found Martha standing in our kitchen, backlit by golden hour sunlight streaming through the windows. She was holding something small in her trembling hands, a pregnancy test. Tears streamed down her face, catching the light like tiny diamonds. After 3 years of trying, after countless negative tests that had chipped away at our hope month after month, after one devastating miscarriage 2 years ago that had nearly destroyed us both, we were finally going to be parents. "Stephen, I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice breaking on the words. Every ounce of exhaustion evaporated from my body. I crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and pulled her into my arms, feeling her body shake against mine, feeling something that I thought was shared joy but now realized was something else entirely, something like fear, like guilt, like a secret too heavy to carry alone. But I was too blinded by happiness to see it then. I was too desperate to believe in the dream we'd built together. "We're going to have a baby," I said, my voice cracking with emotion I couldn't contain. But even in that moment of what should have been pure joy, something felt wrong. Martha's tears didn't seem like tears of happiness. They seemed desperate, panicked. When I pulled back to look at her face, really look at it, she quickly wiped her eyes and forced a smile that didn't reach anywhere near the truth. Her jaw was tight, her shoulders rigid. "I'm just overwhelmed," she said, but her eyes darted away from mine, focusing on something invisible over my shoulder. That night haunted me later, but in the moment I convinced myself it was about the miscarriage. 2 years earlier, Martha had lost our first pregnancy at 14 weeks. I'd held her in a sterile hospital bed while she sobbed so hard I thought she might break apart completely. 4 months afterward, she'd been hollow, a ghost of herself moving through our home. I'd suggested therapy, begged her to talk to someone, but she'd insisted she could handle it alone. Eventually she seemed to recover, or at least that's what I'd told myself. But looking back now, I realize that's exactly when everything changed. That's when the late nights started, when girls' night out became a weekly occurrence, when her phone became something she protected like it contained nuclear codes. Over the next 3 weeks, Martha's behavior became increasingly bizarre. She slept with her phone under her pillow. She jumped at every notification like she'd been electrocuted. When I'd walk into a room, she'd frantically close whatever she was looking at on her screen. One evening I came home early, a rare gift from a canceled meeting, and found her pacing our bedroom, phone pressed to her ear, her voice low and urgent and nothing like the woman I'd married. "I told you we can't talk about this now," she hissed into the phone. "He doesn't know anything. Please don't forget to subscribe as you continue." She spun around when the floorboards creaked under my weight, her face draining of all color like someone had pulled a plug. For a split second, I saw raw terror in her eyes before she masked it with irritation. "Who were you talking to?" I asked, keeping my voice casual even though my heart was pounding. "Just Sarah," she stammered, naming her best friend. "Wedding stuff. You know how she gets about details." Sarah Mitchell was getting married in August, just 2 months away. Martha had been chosen as maid of honor, and for the past year she'd been deeply involved in planning this massive vineyard wedding for 250 guests. It was the perfect cover for unexplained phone calls, mysterious errands, late-night planning sessions I was never invited to. I wanted to believe her, desperately wanted to believe her, but something in my gut twisted with doubt. That night, after she fell asleep, I did something I'd never done in 8 years of marriage. I picked up her phone from the nightstand, my hands trembling like a thief's. I tried our anniversary date as the passcode. It didn't work. She changed it. 2 weeks later, we sat in Dr. Patel's office for Martha's first prenatal appointment. I'd taken the afternoon off work, my excitement barely contained. The sterile room smelled of antiseptic and new beginnings. Dr. Patel squeezed cold gel onto Martha's stomach while I held her hand, feeling the dampness of her palm against mine. The ultrasound wand pressed against her skin, and suddenly the room filled with sound, a rapid, strong heartbeat that made my eyes well up instantly. "Sounds perfect," Dr. Patel smiled warmly. "And based on measurements, you're about 11 weeks along." I felt Martha's hand tighten around mine like a vice. I glanced at her face and saw panic flash across her features before she could control it. 11 weeks? Martha repeated, her voice strained and thin. "Are you sure?" Dr. Patel studied the screen carefully, taking multiple measurements with professional precision. "Yes, definitely around 11 weeks. Which would put conception at mid-April, give or take a few days." My mind started calculating automatically, the way an engineer's mind does with numbers and dates and timelines. Mid-April. I'd been away on a work conference in Seattle for 5 days during that exact period, April 13th through 17th. It was the longest Martha and I had been apart in years. 5 days of technical presentations and networking dinners while Martha had been home alone. Or so I'd thought. When I looked at Martha, she was staring at the ceiling, tears streaming silently down her temples into her hair. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, like she couldn't get enough air. "Honey, what's wrong?" I asked, squeezing her hand, genuinely concerned despite the math screaming in my head. "Nothing," she choked out. "Just hormones." But Dr. Patel had gone quiet, her experienced eyes moving between the two of us with an expression I couldn't quite read. She'd been a doctor long enough to recognize certain patterns, certain silences that spoke louder than words. That night I couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop thinking about the dates, the timeline, the panic in Martha's eyes. While she slept in our bed, or pretended to sleep, I went into our home office and logged into our phone account online. My heart hammered against my ribs as I pulled up her call and text records, feeling like I was committing some kind of betrayal even though she'd been the one hiding her phone, changing passwords, flinching away from my touch. What I found made my blood turn to ice in my veins. Please don't forget to subscribe as you continue watching. Hundreds of calls and texts to a single unknown number. They started 8 months ago, right after Martha claimed she was finally healing from the miscarriage. The calls were often late at night, sometimes lasting over an hour. During my Seattle conference in mid-April, during conception, she'd called this number 17 times. 17 times in 5 days. My hands shook violently as I entered the number into a reverse lookup service, already knowing in my gut what I'd find but praying I was wrong. The name that appeared on the screen hit me like a physical blow. Blake Morrison. Blake Morrison was Martha's ex-boyfriend from college. They'd dated for 2 years before she met me, and according to every story Martha had ever told, their breakup had been mutual and amicable. He'd moved to Seattle for some tech job and they'd lost touch completely. At least that's what I'd been told. That's what I'd believed for 8 years. I spent the rest of that night digging deeper, my investigative instincts overriding my exhaustion. Social media searches revealed that Blake had moved back to Portland about a year ago, right around the time Martha's behavior started changing. He was working as a software engineer at a startup downtown, just 15 minutes from Martha's marketing agency office. I found photos of him at a company holiday party from last December, tall, athletic, with dark hair and the kind of easy confidence that probably made women weak. And there, in the background of one photo, partially obscured by other people but definitely, unmistakably there, was Martha. Wearing a dress I'd never seen before, holding a drink, laughing at something outside the frame. I closed my laptop and sat in the darkness, listening to the house creak around me, feeling my marriage crumble into dust. I waited until morning, letting the evidence burn in my chest like acid. Martha was applying makeup in our bathroom when I walked in and set the printed phone records on the counter beside her cosmetics. The paper looked obscene next to her beauty products, a stark reminder of ugly truths. "Who's Blake Morrison?" I asked, my voice unnaturally calm. The mascara wand fell from her hand, clattering against the porcelain sink. In the mirror, I watched her face go completely white. "Stephen, I can explain." "Don't lie to me," I interrupted, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "I've seen everything. Hundreds of calls. Texts at 2 in the morning. What the hell is going on? Her shock transformed into defensive anger with practiced ease. You went through my phone records? You invaded my privacy? Answer the question, Martha. Are you having an affair? No, she shouted, but her eyes couldn't hold mine. We're just friends. You're being paranoid and controlling. Is the baby mine? The question detonated in the small bathroom like a grenade. Martha's face contorted with rage, and she shoved past me so hard I stumbled into the doorframe. I heard her grab her keys, heard our front door slam, watched through the window as her car squealed out of the driveway. But she hadn't answered the question. She'd run instead. 2 days later, I sat across from Raymond Torres, a private investigator in a cluttered downtown office. He was a former police detective in his 50s with tired eyes that had seen too much human ugliness. I slid an envelope of cash across his desk, my hands surprisingly steady. I need to know the truth, I told him. Raymond pocketed the money without counting it. In my experience, Mr. Jack, people who hire me already know the truth. They just need proof. Please don't forget to subscribe as you continue watching. Raymond worked with brutal efficiency. Within 1 week, he delivered a manila folder that destroyed what remained of my marriage. Surveillance photos showed Martha meeting Blake at the Riverfront Hotel in Northwest Portland, 4 separate occasions over 3 months. Photos of them having lunch at an intimate bistro, sitting too close, his hand possessive on her thigh. Photos of them in Blake's car parked in a secluded lot, the windows fogged with their shared breath and lies. But the most damning evidence was security footage from the hotel parking garage dated April 15th. Right in the middle of my Seattle conference, right in the window of conception. I watched the grainy video 3 times, each viewing carving deeper wounds. Martha and Blake arriving together, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. Her pressing him against his car and kissing him with a passion I hadn't seen from her in years. Them disappearing into the hotel at 7:43 p.m. Emerging 5 hours later, disheveled and glowing with post-sex satisfaction. Raymond slid a paternity test kit across his desk. You'll need this after the birth. But those dates align perfectly with conception. I'm sorry, Mr. Jack. I went home to our empty house. Martha had moved into the guest bedroom claiming pregnancy nausea, and spent the evening planning. My father's voice echoed in my head, advice he'd given me when I was 16 after catching my mother's affair. When someone betrays you, they're counting on your emotional reaction. They want you to explode so they can make you the villain. Don't give them that satisfaction. Stay calm, gather facts, and choose the moment of revelation carefully. I opened my laptop and began creating a presentation. Not just any presentation, a comprehensive, timeline-based exposé complete with phone records, surveillance photos, and hotel receipts. I titled it, The Truth About Love and Loyalty. August 17th arrived with cruel perfection. Sunny, warm, with a gentle breeze that seemed to mock my dark intentions. The Willow Creek Vineyard estate was stunning, exactly the kind of picturesque venue people saved for years to afford. Martha had left early for hair and makeup, barely acknowledging my existence. I dressed alone in our bedroom, putting on my best suit, the navy one Martha always said made me look handsome, and carefully loaded my laptop and a small projector into my car. The ceremony was objectively beautiful. Sarah looked radiant in her white gown, Derek couldn't stop smiling, and Martha stood beside her best friend playing the part of perfect maid of honor in an emerald dress that hugged her growing belly. I sat in the third row watching her, and she never once looked in my direction. Not once in the entire ceremony. During cocktail hour, I approached the wedding planner and AV technician with a carefully rehearsed story about Sarah's father preparing a surprise tribute video. The technician was happy to help, especially after I slipped him $200 in crisp bills. Just cue me during the break after dinner speeches, I said casually. Before the dancing starts. The reception hall was elegant, high ceilings draped in white fabric, round tables with rose centerpieces, a small stage for the band. Martha sat at the head table with the wedding party, laughing at something the best man said. I was relegated to a back table with college friends of Sarah's that I barely knew. Perfect positioning, actually. Perfect for what was coming. Dinner was served. Toasts were made. Sarah's father gave a touching speech about watching his little girl grow up. The band began setting up their equipment. The AV technician caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. It was time. Please don't forget to subscribe as you continue watching. I stood at 8:47 p.m., straightened my tie, and walked to the microphone on trembling legs. The hall gradually fell silent as people noticed me standing there, recognized that I wasn't part of the scheduled program. "Excuse me, everyone," I said, my voice carrying across the room with surprising steadiness. "I know this is Sarah and Derek's special day, and I apologize for the interruption. But there's something important that needs to be addressed. Something about love, trust, and the truth we all deserve." I saw Martha's head snap toward me, her face draining of all color. She started to stand, but Sarah's confused hand caught her wrist. The lights dimmed on cue. The projector flickered to life behind me. "My name is Stephen Jack, and I'm here to tell you about my wife's pregnancy." The first slide appeared, Martha and me on our wedding day, young and in love and stupid. Then the positive pregnancy test. Then phone records with Blake's number highlighted in damning red. Then surveillance photos of Martha and Blake at the hotel entrance at lunch in his car. Then the parking garage footage, time-stamped and irrefutable. "According to medical records, my wife conceived around mid-April," I said, my voice hollow. "The same week these photos were taken. So I have one question." I looked directly at Martha, who was now pushing through frozen guests toward me. "Is the baby mine, Martha?" She reached the stage in a fury I'd never witnessed, her carefully applied makeup running with tears and rage. And then she did something that shocked even me. She grabbed my suit jacket with both hands and ripped it violently. Buttons popped off and scattered across the floor like tiny projectiles. Fabric tore with a sound that echoed through the stunned silence. "You ruined everything," she shrieked, clawing at my chest. 3 months later, I sit in a new apartment across town watching Portland rain streak down windows that don't feel like home yet. The divorce is almost finalized. Martha fought it initially, claimed I'd humiliated her publicly, violated her privacy, destroyed her reputation. But when the paternity test results came back negative, "Not mine, never mine," her lawyer stopped returning calls. Martha gave birth 6 weeks ago to a healthy boy. Blake's attorney contacted mine shortly before the due date about financial responsibilities. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Blake proposed to Martha last month. Whether she accepted, I don't know and don't care. Sarah and I had coffee last week. She admitted she'd suspected something was wrong for months but had been too absorbed in wedding planning to confront it. "What you did was brutal," she said carefully, "but also necessary. Martha would have let you raise another man's child. She would have trapped you forever." Her words helped, but healing takes time. My therapist says I'm processing trauma healthily. I got a promotion at work, reconnected with neglected friends, joined a hiking group and climbed Mount Hood. Some days are harder than others. I still wake expecting to see Martha beside me, still feel the phantom weight of the family I'd imagined. But I also feel relief. Relief that I discovered the truth before signing a birth certificate for a child that wasn't mine. Relief that I chose truth over comfortable lies. My phone buzzes, Raymond, the PI, asking about coffee. I smile, the first genuine smile in months, and text back, "Yeah, I'd like that." Because betrayal breaks you, but it doesn't have to destroy you. Sometimes the worst moments become catalysts for the best decisions. My name is Stephen Jack. I'm 34 years old. I'm a survivor. And I'm finally free. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and share for more interesting stories.